junkies wherever you may be, it's Rowan J. Parker here, and today we're going to be reviewing this television, which is the Samsung PS60F5500 3D smart capable plasma television. We'll be putting the set through its paces, finding out exactly what it's good at, possibly what it's not quite so good at, giving you a fair and honest appraisal of this set. So without further ado, let's get straight down to it, my review of this Samsung plasma television. Let's rock. Okay, before we begin the review proper, let's just look at the fundamental reason why I bought this set in the first place. And it's a one-word answer, and that word is price. In the UK, I got this television for just under £1,000, which for a 60-inch 3D smart capable, all singing, all dancing plasma television is a ridiculously good deal. And so, no matter what other small frustrations you might have with the television, whatever it may be, you really can't get away from that bottom line, which is 60-inch plasma television for under £1,000. Really, for me, as soon as I saw that, it was a no-brainer and I just had to get it. So, throughout the review, just bear in mind that the bottom line is this is the cheapest, most capable television that you're going to get for this sort of money anywhere in the UK. Alright, on to the review proper. So let's begin by looking at the aesthetic of the set. It's a very handsome set overall, it's certainly no clunker. It's dominated of course by the huge 60-inch display. Now if you're upgrading from a 42-inch set or even a 50-inch set, this is going to seem like a big step up. It's a lot bigger. But for me, bigger is better. It's always better, just remember that. Okay, so the bezel surrounding the screen is quite thin. It's about 1 inch on the sides and on the top, and at the bottom it's about 1.5 inches. It's a little bit thicker, but absolutely a very pretty looking set. It's also quite a thin set. It's actually not quite as thin as the Samsung C7000 that I replaced that used to be in this room. Not as thin as that, but it's still very thin. And as you can see, it's wall mounted here, and it supports 600 VESA mounting points, so I didn't have to get a new bracket either. The stand that comes supplied with it, which of course I'm not using, is their standard claw stand, which I'm not that fond of how that looks, but you know, it's up to you. Wall mounting is the way to go for me for plasma displays. So yeah, I think it's a good looking television, certainly looks good in situation. Okay, let's talk about the connectivity to be found on this set. Generally speaking, it's very well specified in that regard. We have 3 HDMI in, there's 2 USB which support external storage. You can attach a hard drive and turn the television to a PVR, for instance. It also has the usual legacy connectors around the back. It has SCART and component in, composite in. There's a LAN in as well, though you probably won't need that because the set has built-in Wi-Fi. Now it doesn't have a headphone out socket, so for those of you that want to listen to the television at night through headphones, not to disturb your family and so on, that's not an option unfortunately, and there doesn't seem to be a satisfactory workaround. It also has an optical audio out for feeding audio back down to a receiver, but it also has what's called an ARC return on one of the HDMI sockets. So if your receiver is compatible with ARC, audio return channel, you can feed the audio back down out of the set and into your receiver, which is the way that I do it. Now, getting back to the 3 HDMI issue, 3 is a reasonable number, but for those of you who are gear junkies like me, it may not be enough, because if you have a Blu-ray player and say Sky HD and say Apple TV and then a PC, well, you're going to be very rapidly running out of HDMI sockets. Now I use a receiver, so it's not really an issue for me, but for those of you that don't use a receiver, you may be struggling to, you know, find enough inputs, enough all digital inputs to use. So it would have been nice if Samsung had possibly dropped one of the USB inputs and replaced it with a 4th HDMI. That would have been good to see. However, a lot of very high-end sets still just have 3 HDMI, so it's not an absolute deal breaker, but that 4th HDMI would have been welcome. So that's something to bear in mind if you have a lot of external equipment. Alright, on to the next bit. Now, in keeping with a lot of other high-end televisions, they supply the set with not 1 but 2 remote controls, and here they are. The first one is an incredibly conventional looking standard Samsung remote, which is actually a little bit plasticky. I was a bit disappointed with this remote. It just didn't quite match the premium feel of the rest of the set, but well, there we go. That's the first remote. Works perfectly well. But the second remote was very much a delightful surprise, because it's this one, which is a lovely touch navigation remote. And it functions a lot like a mouse trackpad on a laptop computer, and you can navigate around the UI using it, and it works extremely well indeed. And this is the remote that I've been using rather than the conventional chunky button based one. So yeah, full marks for Samsung for providing this remote, which is absolutely excellent. I do love it. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to fire up the television from a standing start, and we're going to take you through the brand new UI for 2013 and show you exactly what this television can do. Okay, for this part of the review I will get out of the way and we will have a good look at the brand new Samsung 2013 Smart TV interface. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn the television on, and we'll see how quickly it boots up from a standing start. And as you can see, it is very quick to respond. Now when you first turn the television on, you're faced with this, which is the new interface, which consists of 5 different panels or panes, each featuring a different service or different item. And when you turn the television on, you get this, which is called the On TV panel, which shows the show being currently broadcast, that you're receiving, shows which are in progress and other channels, and then shows which are coming up shortly. Now Samsung use a system called S recommendation, which will show you programs you may be interested in based upon your viewing habits. So the more you use the set, if you use S recommendation, the more aware it will be of the sort of things that you like to watch, and it will come up with programs for you that you will be interested in. Alright, so that's the On TV panel. I'm moving across to the films and TV shows. This is where you can download and purchase premium content, movies, TV shows, etc. Or for instance streaming. Of course this is not free, you have to pay for the service, but it's fairly well stocked, well specified. There's new releases as well as classic movies. And then moving on to this section, which is the photos, videos and music section. This is where you can stream all your own content. So if you have content on a PC, a media server, a NAS box and so on, you can stream the content from there, which is exactly what I'm using it for. So you can see a few things that we've been watching recently. Now an interesting thing that's happened, and I don't know if this is a bug or a glitch with the television or with the server, but it used to display some thumbnail art, and it's singularly failing to display that now. So I suspect that's a small firmware bug which may get fixed in a future update, but for just now it is not displaying the correct firmware. So we'll be coming back to this one in a bit to show you what it can do. So that's our media streaming section, and then moving on we've got our social section, where you can set up Skype and Facebook and Twitter and all those absolutely horrid social networking services which everyone is so addicted to now. So social pane, and then probably the most interesting to most people is the apps. Now this is particularly good because Samsung's 2013 portal is probably one of the best specified of all. You have, for UK users anyway, we have BBC iPlayer, ITV Player, and there's 4 on demand. There's also Love Film and Netflix, and I subscribe to both those services. So this was a very compelling reason to get the set, because it has all these streaming services built right in, with many more to come, I think. Currently 5 on demand is not available for this set, and nor is STV Player in Scotland, which is available for last year's Samsung TV portal a bit unusually, but not for this year's yet. But things will be updated as the year progresses, so I'm not really that bothered about it. But in the meantime, we've got all the big ones I'm interested in: iPlayer, Love Film, Netflix, all on board. Big tick there. So this is where Samsung really scores on the apps. It is a well specified platform. Okay, so there we have the 5 panes, the 5 elements of navigation, the 5 things you can do on your television. So let's go ahead now and look at probably the thing you're most interested about, which is actual picture quality. How do the pictures actually look on this set? In my opinion, the picture quality on this set is fantastic, especially taking into account the price of the set. Now it's certainly true that you can get a better picture quality on a high-end Panasonic plasma, or yet on Samsung's own flagship F5500. They have better black levels, for instance, and just generally a more refined and balanced picture. However, these sets can cost up to 3 times as much as this one did, and the picture quality on those sets is certainly not 3 times better than the one on this set. So in terms of price performance ratio, I think this is fairly much unbeatable. 1080p Blu-ray looks exceptionally clear and sharp. Upscale DVDs similarly look very good. It can depend to a certain degree on the quality of your picture source. So certain Freeview channels, digital terrestrial channels can look a little bit soft. But streaming media over the internet via iPlayer looks very good to me, as do the files that I stream over my own home network. So yeah, no set is absolutely perfect, and this set is not perfect in terms of picture quality, but again, returning to price performance ratio, basically unbeatable. A couple of other issues to address. Some people have complained about what they call brightness pops. Now, I've got to say that I have updated this television to the latest firmware, and I have not noticed any of these brightness pops, which is not to say that they don't exist, but I certainly have not noticed any. And likewise, some people have complained about something called DSE, which they call dirty screen effect, which they have noticed while watching sport, especially ice hockey, where they have a very plain white background and there's been some issue with the picture there. Now, I can't comment upon that myself because I don't watch ice hockey or sports generally, but again, it's something that I have not noticed. So I think the central thing is, are you getting good value for money with the picture quality in this television? And the answer to that is absolutely 100% resounding yes, you are. It really does look absolutely fantastic to me. So let's delve a little bit deeper into the television's smart platform. And I thought what we'd do to start with is show you some of the apps. And we'll just use BBC iPlayer for this. Let's boot up iPlayer. And we can see how long it takes to load up. It's very quick generally. Yep, very quick indeed. Let's find something to watch. Later with Jules Holland. And generally streaming very good. Let's attempt to stream in HD. See how we get on. So obviously this is coming over the internet. Yeah. I don't know what sort of sense you can get through the camera, but to be honest, the picture quality is very good. It's very good. So no issue there really, particularly. So that seems to be working well. And now I will show you a little bit of streaming over my home network. Just to show you a bit of that. So let's just go into the navigation to show you how that works. So we'll go to all content. Oops, back one. And here you can see whatever servers you might have online. And if you notice the first one, Servo, that's my main media server. So I'll go into that. And gives us an option of what to look at, videos. Look at them. And we'll just go to movies. All the movies I have on my server. Yep, there we go. Certainly won't be watching 10,000 BC, possibly one of the worst movies Roland Emmerich ever made. Not a good film. Not many of the films are, right enough. Let's look at 300. We do love 300. Bit of Gerald Butler. See what Leonidas has got to say for himself.
It must be Xerxes.
Again, hard to tell what the picture quality is like, but considering this is just a file streamed over my home network, the native resolution is not fantastic. It looks absolutely fine.
Let us reason together.
More than watchable.
It would be a regrettable waste.
Okay, so those options work well. So I think we can see that the streaming capabilities of the set work well, and it's really quite responsive and a pleasure to use. Now, one of the things I can't really show you is the 3D capabilities of the set. It's obviously a 3D plasma telly. I can tell you that the 3D is much improved upon the last couple of years of Samsung's attempts at 3D. The 3D set I have from 2010 is prone to some crosstalk and ghosting and other aberrations used to get in 3D. There's very, very little of that on this set. It looks very, very good in 3D indeed. So they've definitely upped the ante in terms of the 3D performance. If you do like 3D television, well, yeah, absolutely, it's a very good 3D set. Okay, well, that's a brief look at smart features. So let's go on to the next section now. Okay, at this point in the review, I'd like to address a few of the controversies about this set, which have already arisen. And the first one, as you can quite clearly see, is screen reflectivity. We've had some people commenting that their television is like a vast grey mirror and the reflections from the screen are just becoming annoying and, you know, spoiling their viewing pleasure. So, as you can see, the television is off just now and we have the light from the window falling on the set, and you can quite clearly see the light from the window reflected in the screen, and you can see much of the rest of the room as well. So, clearly it is quite a reflective screen. Almost all plasma displays are reflective, but this one is quite reflective. So will this cause you a major problem? Well, the answer to that is it depends upon the viewing conditions you're in. If you're in a room with a lot of ambient light, then yes, it may be annoying. If on the other hand you have little ambient light, or you can block out the light, then it probably won't be that much of an issue. It's not so bad when the set is on. You can see it in the daylight, you can see some reflections even when the set is on. However, when the curtains are drawn or there's no light coming into the room and you're in a dark environment, the set looks fantastic under those conditions. So that's the first thing to address, maybe something to consider. And here's the next one, which is the dreaded Pentile display matrix. So to show you this, I'm going to switch the television on, put the camera right up to the screen and see if we can actually see this Pentile matrix that people are going on about. Alright, let's do that. And here we go, I'm going to zoom it right into the set. Okay, here we go. And as we move in, we'll be able to start discerning the actual sub-pixel arrangement. Round about there you can see it. And that's a Pentile display matrix. And if we get much closer, yeah. So at that distance, and I'm really only a couple of centimetres from the screen here, yeah, it's quite noticeably Pentile. However, when we pull back, and this is me now at a viewing distance of just a couple of feet, and this is now about 4 feet or 6 feet, I don't really think it's an issue. And by the time you're all the way back at your actual viewing distance, which will probably be about, you know, between 8 and 10 feet for this size of display, it's really just a non-issue in my opinion. So the great Pentile controversy, I just don't see how it's a problem at normal viewing distances. So that's my take on that one. Now moving on to another controversial issue, which is screen buzz. Now almost all plasma televisions do make some sort of buzzing noise, and some are far worse than others. And some people have complained that this set is noisy and produces quite an audible and unpleasant buzz. Now, I should say that this seems to be very variable from set to set, and it may just be the luck of the draw. You get one which is particularly bad and it makes a lot of noise, and you get one which is virtually silent. Well, I'm happy to say for myself that this one seems to be virtually silent. I've noticed really no discernible buzz from the set whatsoever. So all I can really say in respect of that is it may be an issue for some people, but for me, I haven't noticed any buzz in particular. It might be just because I'm a deaf old guitar player, who knows, but it hasn't bothered me so far. And now to address one other issue, which is an issue which can potentially affect all plasma televisions, which is IR, otherwise known as image retention, or its more deadly brother, screen burn. Now what IR actually is that if you have a static image displayed on the screen for a long period of time, it can leave a sort of ghostly after effect. When you change from that image to something else, you can still see the previous image. And it is a problem that did used to occur on some very early generation plasma displays. And if you leave the image on the screen for long enough, then it will actually burn itself into the phosphors and it will leave a permanent mark on the screen which you won't be able to get rid of. Well, I would say that the chance of this happening and the effects of it are grossly exaggerated. I've used plasma televisions for 10 years. Ever since the technology was brand new, I've never had a problem with IR or screen burn particularly. Any effects seem to dissipate after a few minutes, and this is a brand new set with lots of tricks up its sleeve to prevent anything like that. So I just think it's a complete non-issue. You're not going to have a problem with image retention or screen burn on this particular set. So this concludes my review of the Samsung PS60F5500 plasma television. So what do I think overall? Well, one thing that this set really screams at you is value for money. You're getting a 60-inch 3D fully smart capable TV for under £1,000, and really you will not find value like this with any other set at this price point in the market. So in those respects it's fairly much unbeatable in terms of price performance. Is the set perfect? No, it's not perfect. There are some niggles with it. It's a very reflective screen. The Pentile matrix may put some people off, and the picture quality is not up there with the very best sets that Samsung and Panasonic produce. However, in terms of what you get for the money, it's pretty much unbeatable. So is it perfect? No, but are you going to get a better television for this sort of cash? The answer is not a chance. So there we have it, that's my opinion. Hope you enjoyed the review. You can check out some other stuff, mainly crazy guitar playing, at my website www.roundjparker.com, and there's some more tech reviews on my YouTube channel as well, so please check them out. So it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I'll check you again on another tech review. So tech junkies of the world, unite, and I'll see you again. Farewell.